my slumber and called to me out of the deeps of space. The love that they promise has helped me remember another time, a caring embrace. Dark eyes in the morning, dark eyes in the evening, dark eyes in the starlight at end of day. Dark eyes that speak silence, they whisper, come find me. You'll never know true love if you stay. Now I seek them in the winter time, oh, I seek them in the spring. Those two dark eyes draw my heart away to where sun and moon sing. I laugh now in the summertime when ripples on the river play. I laugh soaring with the meadowlarks, love has made my heart gay. I laugh soaring with the meadowlarks, love has made my heart gay. I've known them forever, they've haunted my slumber and called to me out of the deeps of space. The love that they promise has helped me remember another time, a caring embrace.
My first words when I met Master were, I want to be your disciple. And in 33.5 years, I haven't for 1 second had cause, or what to speak of cause, ever wanted, had the least thought of backing off from that decision. Why? Because I want the truth. That's what I was really looking for. And when I found somebody who had it and could share it, then that's all I wanted. And since then, there have been people who have tried to persuade me that either he wasn't a master or that there are other greater masters. Indra Devi was saying that I should follow Satya Sai Baba because, after all, he's the greatest of all. And my answer to that is not to bother with making comparisons. It doesn't even matter to me whether Master is a completely realized Master, although I'm convinced he is and was. But what matters to me is that he has what I want, and that I've given my life to him, and that there is a commitment there that cannot be broken or even shaken. And that kind of commitment is something that comes from the soul. It doesn't come from an intellectual decision. But if it were to be proved to me that there was somebody else who's greater, I'm sure there are better women than my own mother, but she's my mother. And so why should I go running after them? I can honor all women as mothers, but there's something special that Divine Mother gave me in the form of one woman as my mother. The same thing is true with the whole idea of discipleship, that our openness is not to a man, it's to an instrument. God has sent Master to us. God has given us a particular way, and we know it's godly. We know it by every possible test that we can apply. Then if somebody were to come along and prove to us that Satya Sai Baba or some new Messiah to the age or Avatar or whatever has more of what God wants done in the age, and some whatever reasons they could come up with, it no longer matters. This is the window God has brought me to. As I said to somebody, even if your way is better, I could not be sincere following your way. Let me be sincere, at least, following my second best way, if that's all it is. Then he had to shut up. There was nothing more he could do to convert me. But the thing is that we've got to have that kind of loyalty and dedication that are possible to give, never to a person, because people can let you down. You can give loyalty to a person, unconditional and eternal loyalty to a person, but if that person goes against the truth, if that person is going to harm your attunement or try to pull you away from the path or whatever. I'm thinking, for example, of old friends before you came on the path. They are your friends and you owe them that loyalty. And it's a loyalty that you should never withdraw. But that doesn't mean you have to hobnob with them. You can say, wait till I gain, just as you don't feel that you're running away from the world if you go to college and get a degree. It helps you to come back to the world with greater ability to handle your job and your position in society. So it is that with old friends, let us say, we should leave them if they're not on the path, but not take our hearts away, which is to say that someday we hope we will reach the point where we can bless them. Or even now we can bless them, but someday we hope we can reach the point where we can repay this debt of friendship that we owe them. But that spirit of loyalty is very crucial, and crucial to the whole subject of the Guru discipleship, and crucial in the point that it's essential to understand that the loyalty is not to a person, except in a human way. But more than that, it's loyalty to God, and loyalty to the way God has brought us to the path.
Welcome again, friends. These stories from the book Stories of Yogananda's Youth, they're very sweet, they're very inspiring, they're uplifting, they're powerful stories. I hope you have this book and that you read it. I've read it many times, but I thought I would share some of my favorites with you today, but I hope you can read all of them. The first is The Living Kali. Master would go around, as his guru taught him, with this focus at the point between the eyebrows all day long. I mean, his eyes weren't turned up, but his focus was here. And this is what the point of that story, one of the points. And that he said at the night when people would sleep, he would be meditating in that attic room, typically, that many of us have been to, but he'd be meditating. His father would leave food by the door, and he said he would give the food to the dog, because he said, what more sustenance did I need than Divine Mother and then God's love? So he was in love. I mean, many people go to their meditation room to do techniques because I have to, I said I would or whatever, but at a certain point you go out of love and devotion and you just want to be there with Divine Mother. So this is how Mukunda was. And so he says here, straight from the beginning of his life, he was an avatar. And he meditated for hours and hours and hours, and all the stories we hear, even when he was a boy. So here he's saying, he was calling her Kali, with hair flowing over creation, mother with the light of laughter in your eyes. Your child is calling you, a little child that longs for your love. Mother divine, will you come? Tear asunder this veil that hides you from me. He said, chanting her name, suddenly he saw her form. Fairer it was than moonbeams on a lotus. In her hair, the stars shone like diamonds. Over the pathway of infinity, she danced lightly, rhythmically, dispelling creation's mood of darkness. Kali, he whispered, Mother Kali, you have come. Forever your child's delusion, take it away, keep him ever near. You are so beautiful, Mother. May I never forget you. Not even for an instant. The Divine Mother smiled. You never will, my child. You may cross the seas, mix with men of many lands, and hear strange tongues, but in your heart of hearts, you will be ever in my formless presence. And then she makes this beautiful promise. And whenever you call me in this form, I shall come to you. Very beautiful. The next story is a true devotee's zeal, talking about meditate no matter how tired you feel. The first part of this was, I read and then I'll tell the story. This was one night, Mukunda thought, when I shall sleep without first meditating. I have been working hard for God all day. This is surely enough merit in that. And then his consciousness rebelled and said, what about God? Don't you love God more than your aching body? Aren't you aching for God's love? And then a dark force came in and said, let the poor boy sleep. He's tired. He's been working for God. This may have happened to you different times. He said, he's been working for God. Let him sleep. So Mukunda was saying, okay, I'll just sleep. And then his superconscious came again and said, no, get up. You're not going to sleep. So he threw off the covers and he sat in the full lotus. He said, I'll sit for 5 minutes. He sat for 5 minutes and 10 minutes and 15 minutes, a half an hour. He said, surely I've meditated long enough. I've been working hard all day. And then he said to himself, no, I am not going to lie down on that bed. I'm going to meditate. And he meditated the whole night. How inspiring. We go through that. I don't feel like I'll sit for 5 minutes, I'll sit for 10 minutes. He ended up meditating the whole night, a true devotee's zeal. The next one is Krishna comes. And this story is about not trying hard enough to see God, to feel God's presence. So his friend, a little Vibhuti, says, he sees Mukunda and he's walking by the Ganges and he's just full of God consciousness. As he sees his aunt, saw Mukunda after he had left the Ganges, he had put his dhoti on the side. And so he was so enwrapped in God, he's just walking without any clothing on, going back home, and his aunt sees him and she's, you bad boy, get your clothes on. And he says, the sin is in you. And so anyway, he's got his dhoti and he's walking back, and his friend Vibhuti sees him. He says, what has possessed you? And Mukunda says, God, God, God. And the boy says, God, his friend cried, always God. If God comes to men, why can't I see him? Why can't my mother see him? She meditates all the time. Why is the world full of people who keep calling God, who he never responds to? So then Mukunda says, they don't try hard enough. It's a wonderful statement he's making. They don't try hard enough. And the boy says, you say, Vibhuti, you say, if we sit and we call to God, that he will come to us? And Master said, why wouldn't he come? We're his children, we're his devotees, we love him. Why wouldn't he come? So Vibhuti says, well, okay. And this is how a lot of people say how they do. Okay, maybe at some point I'll try it. And Mukunda said, no, why not now? Why not tonight itself? Why don't we meditate tonight and we call to God and see if he's going to come? And the boy said, tonight? Really? Tonight? You think he'll really come? Mukunda said, why not? So they go to his house and they chant and they meditate. Hours pass and Vibhuti's getting tired and more tired. And then he says, nobody came, Mukunda, nobody. Says, what? Just sit still and meditate. He's going to come. So he says, the boy says, Vibhuti says, do you think Krishna will come? And God in the form of Krishna will come? And Master says, why not? I mean, I just love that attitude. Why not? Sit and meditate, call on Krishna. So hours and hours pass, and then finally it's almost dawn, and the little boy, Vibhuti, he says, listen, Mukunda, I mean, I'm all for this, but nobody's come. I'm going to bed. I'm sleepy. And Master says, go to bed if you want. I'm going to stay up all night. If I die trying, I'm going to see Krishna. And so Vibhuti, he gets more and more energy from Mukunda. And then suddenly, this is what happens. I love this. Suddenly, within the inner temple of his being, Mukunda beheld a wondrous vision. Krishna walking on soft clouds of gold. Krishna thrilling the air with his smile of peace. Krishna, his lotus eyes full blown with love, softer than flowers, dispelling the darkness of night. I see him. Mukunda cried, I see him, the fair moon of Gokul. It can't be true. You must be imagining it, his friend replied, his voice yet betraying a renewed note of hope. You shall see him yourself. Mukunda struck the friend gently on the chest. I see him too, Vibhuti cried out. I see him. I see him. What bliss welled up in their hearts. Gratefully, they thanked the Lord for his wondrous visitation. Vibhuti's gratitude was mixed with tears for having doubted the divine loving kindness of the Lord. Beautiful story. And the next is the wave and the ocean. So Master Mukunda had he would visit different saints, sages, holy people. And what Swamiji said was most of them were learning from him. He would go saying he was learning from them, but really they were learning from him, many of them. So all his friends would tell him about saints. So someone said, there's a holy man, he lives at this particular place. So Mukunda said, let's go. So they go there, and the man is, all his disciples are there, and, they're bowing down to him and such reverence and respect. And so Mukunda, he bows to him, and then the man sees Mukunda's humility, and he looks at him and he says, well, I am God. And Mukunda says, you say so. I just love that. So you say so. And the man is irate. And he says, yes, I am God. And so Mukunda pulls out a mirror. Why he was carrying a mirror, I have no idea. But he must have known he needed a mirror. He shows the man his face in the mirror. And he said, is this the face of God? You call this the face of God? This isn't the God I'm looking for. And he rushes off. Mukunda leaves. And the man, who in his heart of hearts was really a deep soul, he runs after him. He says, wait, you've awakened me from a great delusion. And this is what Mukunda was doing when he was going to those saints. He said, I've been awakened from a great delusion. And Mukunda says, he says after that, never say that you are God. Say that God is within you. That never say that the wave is the ocean. The ocean has become the wave. And he awakened that holy man from his delusion. The last story is fabulous. I just hope you will read these stories. 48 hours in eternity. And this is mainly about having longer meditation. So Mukunda, every day he would say, I'm going to meditate longer. Have you said that to yourself before? And every day went by, then the year went by, and I think a couple of years. And anyway, he said, he finally realized that he wasn't having the long meditation. He would meditate 8 hours at a time or 10 or something, but that wasn't long for him. So he said one day, now I'm going to do it today. He dropped everything and he went to meditate, have a long meditation. Now, how long did he meditate? 48 hours, two days. He meditated 48 hours. And he was just lifted up in ecstasy. He was levitating. And after the 48 hours, which he said seemed like 48 minutes, he was still in this bhav of just being, just floating. He said his feet would barely touch the steps as he was going down. The family didn't worry about him because they knew he had strange things that he did sometimes, going to the crematory ground and meditating for a long hour. So meditating there at the crematory ground. So anyway, they didn't worry about him. So suddenly he shows up and the family's having their meal. And he sits there and he's still in this uplifted bhav. And he said nothing around him seemed normal. The people, the place, he was just in an ecstatic bhav. And so his sister-in-law, Ananta's wife, she was looking at him like, what's wrong with him? And so Mukunda said, well, I think it's a good time to have some fun with the family. And so he did a yogic, let me say what he said. He passed into a certain yogic state, one that brings to a standstill the heart, the circulation, and so forth. And then he just suddenly fell back. No breath, no heartbeat, nothing. And the relatives were all aghast, and they came around, and the sister-in-law came. She felt she didn't feel any heartbeat. They called a doctor, and one of the relatives said, this is what happens when you do too much yoga, or too much yoga practice. And so the doctor comes and he examines him thoroughly, and he pronounces him dead. And the family is just so saddened. I mean, just imagine Master doing this prank. Everybody's weeping, and the sister-in-law is upset, and everybody's upset, and they're all just saying how wonderful he was, such a good boy, and how much they loved him, and on and on. And it must have lasted for a short time, because I mean they were going on and on. Then he had one maid there at the house. They had one maid Ma, and Mukunda used to bring a lot of friends over to the house all the time. She was always upset. Why are you bringing more work for me? So maid Ma was saying, oh, he was such a good boy. He was mischievous, but he was a good boy, Lord. And Lord, I won't have anybody to fight with anymore. And so Mukunda couldn't take it anymore, and he comes out of the state. He says, yes, you will. And she picked up a stick and threw it near him. And then everybody sort of chastised him, but they really didn't, because they were so happy to have him back. But he could go into these states, but the fact that he would do that with his family is really, and then come back to life. And they said the doctor was so astounded, he couldn't even say a word. So anyway, those are the stories I want to share from you. I'll show you with you. This is the book. It's loaded with stories like this, and I hope you enjoy it. I'd like to ask Nitendra now to come on screen. We have a couple of questions.
Thank you, Dhyana. I'll just share the screen with the questions. You told a lot of stories today as well, Dhyana, but in general, we've seen that in Ananda, we listen to a lot of stories, and all our masters' books and even Swamiji's talks are full of stories. So is there a deeper significance of stories on our path?
Definitely. I mean, you remember the story. With the story the teachings come to life. It's not just a lecture. I mean, what do people remember from a talk? Typically the examples and the stories. So a story will inspire you, will uplift you. If it's a humorous story, it will open you up to a deep point. Swamiji would tell stories, and Master too, I mean, of course. And then if it would uplift you or open you, and then here's the point, he would give you the point. But the story it's alive, and you see it, you see the scene happening, and you get drawn into the scene. And that's why stories like this, with such wonderful books with stories in them like this one, they just, I mean, you can cry, you can laugh, you can just fall off the bed crying and laughing. It's just, They just uplift your spirit. So just think, if we just have philosophy, painful philosophy at that, where the person just like a monotone, just talking, blah, 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 blah. And some people do. But Master was alive. He gave his talks. And one man, he was giving a talk, and this man tried to walk out. Master said, "Sit down, you'll never hear another talk like this in your life." So he was trying to awaken people, not just give a philosophy. So the vibration of God, gurus, goes in much more if the person's open and receptive. And that's what a story can do.
Thank you, Dhyanaji. A related question is that how can we ensure that we do not get distracted by so many other paths or even other stories of other masters and gurus?
Well, I mean, you heard what Swamiji said about loyalty. I think if you stay with the Sangha, Swamiji said he didn't go to see other masters until he was firmly on his path. Now, that's a long time. I mean, I cannot say I feel firmly, then I don't. I mean, you can fall at any time. And so, Swamiji said, he talked about inspiration versus instruction. So if you're going for inspiration, it's okay if you feel firm on your path. If you're going for instruction from somebody else, that's being disloyal. I mean, you can't, how are you gonna, even in something as simple as music, like I have a music teacher who comes regularly, and I said, okay, if you're gonna teach me, I'm gonna learn from you. I'm not gonna go learn from somebody else and you, and then somebody else. And I mean, he's teaching me in a particular way. So the guru's teaching you in a particular way. Like Swamiji said, you only have one mother. God is giving that mother to you. So maybe the other one's better. I don't really care. Maybe they teach better. I don't care about that either. Maybe they're still alive. I don't care, because I've given my heart and soul to Master. God, through the guru, has come to us. And I love that line Swamiji said, God has I can't remember exactly what he was saying. God has sent Master to us. That's the point. He didn't send somebody else. So, you can find if you're feeling kind of restless in your heart, you're at a lecture and it seems good, but you're feeling uncomfortable. You're going to get a diksha from another saint. Wow, I would just be careful if I were you. Talk with people who've been around for a while. They could give you better advice. Even in small things, I made big mistakes. Going to people who said they were healers or they were this, and I just, oh, he's a healer, I'm going to go see him. And Swamiji cautioned me, what he said, which I'll never forget about one healer. Why are you listening to him? He's no saint. Wow. Remember he told Devi Ji, she said she had gone to this lecture and then she went up and she already had Hong Sa, and the other man said, oh, I'll teach you, doesn't matter, I'll teach you Hong Sa. She told the man, I already have. He said, no, it doesn't bother, just come on. She told Swamiji about it. He says, find time to tell me now. Like this, you've got to be really focused. And people are they go all over the map. It just doesn't help you. That's the point of it.
Thank you, Dhyanaji. One last question. Would you suggest any techniques or process through which we do not get distracted?
I would say, why don't we do what Master did? Try to keep your focus at the spiritual eye. Now, how do you do that all day? You can't, but you can try, when you have a free moment, or you can chant Om Guru in your mind, or sometimes, it's so sweet just to repeat in your mind, I love you, Guruji. I love you, Guruji. I love you, Master. Thank you. Thank you. Just over and over. That keeps your mind focused on our teachings and the path. Of course, all the other things, about the music and everything. But here's another one. Every day, I try to do this. Make a real contact with the guru in your meditation. I think a lot of people sit there and just, I don't know what goes on. But if you really just in either the beginning, the middle, or the end, just say, now is my moment to really make contact with Master. Meaning talk to him. Tell him about your life. This is what I'm going through. You have to help me. I'm your own disciple, not disciple even. I'm your child. You have to help me. And then what do you want me to do? How can I do it better? How can I serve more? How can I find God? Introduce me to God. Make a contact instead of watching the watch or the phone, or it just doesn't take you anywhere. And then that contact, and then finally, he said, like Master was saying in these stories, be with me all day. I want to feel your presence. I want to know that you're there. And you will find that that silent one is there, like in that beautiful poem of, I don't remember the name of it, but at the very end, Divine Mother says to Master, I am here, playmate. I'm your playmate. I am here. Something like that. So sweet. So it's a presence that's always wanting to be there, but we keep pushing out of the way. If we say, no, this is what I want in my life, then you find that divine presence. So sweet. There's nothing sweeter. Everything else disappoints, isn't it? It's all disappointing. But you get to the point where you just want God alone. It's so sweet. God bless you all.